and welcome to another episode of Tales of an ALT. In today's installment, we're talking about the real of living in Japan. Now, everyone has their own image and their own knowledge of what it's like to live in Japan. So, a couple examples of, my image and the real of it. Fandoms that obviously, if you like Japanese things, you come to Japan, there's going to be a lot of things you're going to have access to that you wouldn't have access to back at home. Yeah, and that is great. I mean, I can go to 7-Eleven right now and get this. So yeah, that's great. I can easily order figures. You have seen, I got figures behind me. You have seen my Pokemon collection of plushies, But the reality is, too, there may be a lot of things you want to do or go to, and you can't because, well, you're working. So, for example, recently, 2 members of Cattoon are doing solo tours. My favorite member, Maru, is doing his solo project, and it's when I have work, so I can't travel to go to see it, and getting off at 4:30 and most likely not getting anywhere before 6 makes it impossible to even travel into Nagoya to see anything. Same for Kame and his solo he just had. Even the Sailor Moon musical I saw yesterday, the closest one was 2 hours away by train. Another example, well, Japan is high tech. You have on your television programs, you can use your remote and vote with a color or, answer the quiz or something. And technology everywhere in Japan has just still growing. And they're still a forerunner in a lot of things when it comes to technology. But at the same time, they still use fax machines. And I fax in my timesheet, which I have to do this week, every month. I send in my timesheet. I mail in my expense report for expensing travel. Still have that. But speaking of travel, that's another one. I love Japanese trains. And I have been amazed by them since my first trip to Japan. And they're so efficient. You can get anywhere practically you want to go by train, and not incredibly that long if you have the money. And they have so many nice options, like the Seishun 18 Kippu has a 5-day unlimited use on JR, which is a great way to take slow trains from one end of Japan to another. You can work together with your friends, so it's 5 unlimited days. It's not consecutive, you and a friend can use it 2 days and then you have one left over. But traveling in Japan is expensive. I went to Yokohama, and the bus that I took to Yokohama was about $90. The Shinkansen would have been about $150, I believe. So it's expensive to travel in Japan. But it's not just that. It's not just what you expect in the reality. It's also things you just wouldn't think of. My number one, squat toilets. These are the vein of my existence, honestly. Use them when you gotta use them, but I like to avoid them at all costs. And every Japanese school that I have gone to and I have worked at has these toilets. At least one in the teacher's bathroom. In all of the bathrooms, all of the restrooms in the school have at least one. I know a number of schools, and people have worked at schools whose teachers' toilets did not have a Western toilet. So they had to either learn quick and get comfortable quickly using it, or to wait until you get home. Schools now are remodeling as time goes on, and the buildings get older. And like, for example, the schools I work at now all have Western toilets, but it's a 1 in like 7 or 1 in 6 or something option in terms of what is actually available to use. So they only have one, and the rest of them are squat toilets. Also, another issue, gender roles. Now, Japan still has a very strong housewife kind of society, in the sense that they do have more traditional gender roles. And one way you may see this in day-to-day life may just be at your school. And I see it when a guest comes to school and the tea lady is the one who, readies the tea and gets everything ready and serves the tea to the guests. This really struck and hit home because it was always tea lady, and they talk about the tea lady. You want to make the tea lady your BFF because you're going to get so many treats and coffee. And it's true. My schools this year don't have a tea lady, and I notice it's the closest female staff who runs and makes tea and readies everything for the guests, even though her male counterparts may be available to do it, but they're not expected to. Another issue, I'm sad to say, that comes up: race. Now, this can be a bit of a shock to those who don't really have a lot of experience or any experience being in the minority. And it is quite shocking to come to Japan and then boom, minority. And I did experience some of that. But there is all kinds of different racism or things that come up, and especially, let's say, in my work life. My first year here, I was told by a JTE I worked with that he was very, very happy to have me as an ALT because I was American and had my American accent with me. And I'm actually from California, which tends to be a standard for American English. Thank you, Hollywood. But he said that meaning that he did not care for the pronunciation of my ALT counterpart who was from the Commonwealth. Yeah, I didn't really care to be told that, even though I was happy to be liked and wanted, but to be told that, Also, I've been told a number of times at jobs, oh, we're not going to hire any Filipinos. We want, white Caucasian workers for this or for that. And yeah. Being in Japan, you're living in another language. And it's not just another spoken language. Like, you can go to Mexico and you have Spanish, but you still have that familiarity of the alphabet. You come to Japan, you have hiragana and katakana and kanji, and there is so much kanji to learn. I think it's impossible to be a fluent native level speaker when coming over. I mean, every situation is different, right? But if you're not, keep in mind, coming over, you basically can be certain levels of illiterate when coming to Japan. Now, this may just, I mean, that can be in the simple, I can understand all this text right here, but this one particular kanji I don't understand. So that messes up kind of what is happening. That's one example. Another example, it's so difficult to go to the doctors to do anything related with any contracts, like apartment contracts, cell phone contracts, internet contracts, anything like that. It's just so hard. And I've gotten in a couple of issues. Now, I've had a couple of issues where I just went, yeah, that's fine. I have no idea what they said, but I said yes. I'm gonna have power tomorrow, right? Yeah, so that could be difficult. In a situation where you're sick, this gets worse, and if you're at the doctor, and now I had the little scare earlier this year. It was earlier this year, wow. Where I had something going on, and I was sick for 3 months, and I didn't know what. And going to the doctors was frustrating because I didn't fully understand what was going on. Now, when I changed doctors and went to another doctor, I felt comfortable because the only thing I didn't really understand, I'm like, what's that? And he replied, pneumonia. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's not pneumonia. Okay, now I feel better. Yeah. Also, this can come up in emergencies when, for example, currently North Korea is liking to fly missiles over northern parts of Japan, scaring the top half of Japan, and alerts go off, and the loudspeaker goes off making announcements. And if you don't understand it, and they don't have the manpower or the time to have a translation in different languages so you understand. Yeah, I know when I worked for Interact up in Tohoku, or just below Tohoku, but there were a lot of aftershocks up there. They did make sure that we knew certain vocabulary like Hinan, evacuate, and things like that. Now, this video wasn't actually planned, like this topic, wasn't actually planned to go up until a couple more installments later, but due to what happened in the last week or so, I decided to move it up, and because I thought it's a good time to talk about it. The last bit I'm going to talk about in this topic: life changes back at home. I regrettably, and I say that, I regrettably have not been able to travel home in the last 6 years. I've been in Japan the last 6 years. I have not traveled home yet. I want to, and I do, but my focus is on other things, and also life got crazy. I had to move a few times, and like say this year, I definitely wanted to go to the Yokohama event, and also saving for the August pay cat. And there are people who go home like every summer, or they go home at winter for Christmas. Like that was my plan when I moved here. I was going to go home every Christmas because I love Christmas and I spend Christmas with my family. That's not how it turned out. Coming over to Japan before, I missed some happy things back at home. My oldest friend from like middle school, she got married. I was going to be in her wedding, but I came to Japan. I had to come to Japan, and I couldn't attend her wedding. She's had a baby. That baby's like 4, 5, 6. I don't even know. And my cousin had a baby who is now over a year old that I haven't met, and I want to meet I want to meet her. New family member, because we've had a lot of loss in our family, so it's nice to have a newbie. But speaking of that, bad life changes back at home. When I studied abroad for a year in Tokyo, my aunt passed away, and that was really difficult, to be so far away. I loved her so much. Well, still love her, right? That doesn't go away. But yeah, and like my last conversation, I think I was on Skype with my mom, and she had her on the phone, like on speakerphone, and we had a conversation, and she kind of cut it short because she realized I was getting upset. But you don't realize how far away and how you're not there. And because sometimes you're just like, I'm in Japan, and you're in that world, and you know, you have those blinders on, and you feel like, well, you know, my life before this is still right through that door, you know, but it's not. I was very lucky that even though I was studying in Hawaii, I was home this summer. My mom passed away, so I was very lucky in that sense. But having, since I moved to Japan, my dog of 17 years had to be put down, which she got really sick like the day before, or like 2 days before I came to Japan, so I knew she was not good when I came to Japan. It was hard. And then last week we had another family member died, and you know, a lot of it, it's not just your personal grief in the situation. It's also, you know, people back at home are grieving and hurting, or even in the other sense. They're celebrating being happy. There's a new baby, or they got married, or, you know, things like that. But you're not there. You can't grieve with them. You can't be happy with them. It's something to keep in mind, and maybe have that conversation beforehand, especially if you know, like, the dog's old, so what's gonna happen with her, my baby. But to leave this on that note, not the best note, but it is the reason why I wanted to do this video. And yeah, I really, really hope you enjoyed this installment as well, and maybe it gave you some things to think about. If you like the videos you're seeing, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, and also comment. I loved reading your comments. So, until next time,